Hey everyone, welcome to the Canadian Physique Alliance podcast, and I'm your host, Corey Sweargos. And today I have none other than the President Ron Hache joining me. We are a couple shows in now. Ron, what are you seeing on the stage of the CPA?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of quality, and I'm seeing, the shows are coming back. So it's pretty exciting. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the Leigh Brandt event, which was held on March 26th. I know you were there, Corey. But the Leigh Brandt Muscle Classic was it was a well-attended event, well organized, and everyone that competed there, I think a lot of them are there to get their qualifications because according to our judges, and we had a head judge from Toronto, Tammy Beckers, who's also an IFBB Pro Judge, and I spoke to her about the event a little bit, and she said that she was impressed with the quality of the athletes that are actually at that event. And I think it was like 70 competitors, but with crossovers, and we do get a lot of competitors testing themselves in different categories or doing, true novice, and at the same time, the confidence to perhaps do an open event. So to get that qualification. So we're finding that a lot of competitors are doing that. But I am finding out that we are getting some good quality athletes at these shows, and they want to actually qualify. Despite of all of the, COVID restrictions we had in the past, things have opened up, but at the same time, everybody's still a little nervous with, all the media that's out there right now. So that was the first show. Second show of the year, first show in Ontario, was a show that was called the Jim Morris Classic. Jim Morris, who passed away a few years ago, was instrumental in the natural movement here in Ontario. He was also a partner with me and my family for the Toronto Pro Super Show and the Toronto Pro Qualifier. So, him and I got things started around 11 years ago. So this was in his honor. We had a nice event. Again, some nice quality athletes at this event. Everybody talking, saying, it's really early in the year, but we want to get things rolling. So we had some good athletes, especially some great bodybuilders that I think are going to look great at the Toronto Pro Qualifier. We even had an award, the overall winners. We picked one that we thought was the best, had the most potential, let's just say, to actually do very well at the Toronto Pro Qualifier. And that individual happened to be a men's physique competitor, and the promoter, Judy and John Stone, paid this promoter's entry fees for the event. So it was a great start for him. It was a real feel-good weekend. Just a feel-good weekend, getting things started. I was head judging the event, so and even our own head judge, Rudy Jambrozik, attended, quite positive and feeling really good and kind of eager to get on board again and actually judging shows. That's how well he felt. So a good start for the year.
Yeah, and absolutely. It's almost like baseball season coming and, opening day, getting those opening shows taking place. And you're right. I did attend the Leigh Brandt Muscle Classic, and obviously Dean and Lee put on an incredible event for the athletes every single year, and obviously the spectators as well. One thing that really stood out to me that I thought was, as you touched on, was the quality of athlete. Here in British Columbia, it's during the month of January, our gyms were still closed, but however, the athletes that persevered, the athletes got on that stage, there was quality top to bottom in the lineup. And I think that is truly indicative of the dedication that the athletes of the Canadian Physique Alliance have to be able to get on stage and be able to, push through all of the, the troubling, things that are going on right now. And obviously there's talk of a sixth wave, which we really don't want to get into, and let's kind of push that noise to the side. But one thing I thought was unique, and let's touch on a little bit, we had an all-female judging panel at the Leigh Brandt Muscle Classic. Is that a first, or has that been done before?
Well, something, it may be a first. I haven't looked into it, but we actually posted that. That was an all-female judges. And it goes to show you, the female judges are as good, or if not better, than some of the male judges. But, we're not trying to compare male with female. It's just that it was kind of cool that it was an all-female judge judging men's bodybuilding, men's physique, and of course, the bikini fitness, figure wellness, and fitness. So I'd have to look into it. So that's a good check. Maybe some of our judges around the world who are watching this podcast can email us back and say, yeah, it's a first, or nay, it is not a first, and they can point out which one was the first. But we're really proud of our judges. And in terms of percentages, I think we are around 50-50 in terms of judges, men and women, and we want to give everybody, an opportunity to judge these events. So we were fortunate that we were able to send Tammy Beckers, who's one of our IFBB Pro judges, to actually attend that event and head judge with all of the women judges that were there. So kudos to BC for producing these great women judges at that show. And that's interesting. A good question. I like to find out myself if I was the first, because if it is, it'll be another first for Canada. And we have many firsts here. So they did a great job judging, and everything went well according to our head judge. So worked out nice.
Totally. Well, let's just talk a little, for a second about judging. If there's anybody out there listening who think that they might be a good judge, or they would like to be able to test judge, how does that process work? And what is the criteria for the CPA for an individual to be able to test judge with the organization?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's, I do have judges or potential judges that, inquire about judging and want to get involved in the show. So what we're looking for in the judges, we always want to minimize conflict of interest for judges. MPC Worldwide, MPC and IFBB Pro League, that's an important thing for all of them. And of course, for the Canadian Physique Alliance. So usually, if you are a trainer, we don't recommend that you apply for judging or to test judge. And the reason for that is obviously the potential of perception of conflict of interest. Not saying that a trainer would have a conflict and that the trainer would judge unbiasedly, but the perception's out there. So rather than causing any conflict, what we recommend for the trainers to do, and we do have a lot of them that do come on board, they email us that, they want to get involved in the judging, we let them know, listen, instead of becoming a judge, focus on perhaps becoming an ambassador. And to become an ambassador, that way there we can include the trainers in our group and get them more involved other than training athletes. So to become an ambassador, we have a program in place. We send them a questionnaire, kind of like a test to see what they actually know about the sport. And it's kind of like an open book test. There's a lot of questions. It takes like a full day to answer all the questions, just so we have some knowledge of what the ambassador, would know. And at the same time, the test is sent back to me, and I look over the test, I do the corrections, because the ambassadors, what they do is they're the first line for the athletes. They're the ones where the athletes may have questions, whether it's on qualifications or, what they need to do to get to a certain level. So they're the ones that are going to answer those questions. We want to make sure that they know what they're doing. But going back to the judging part, those that are interested in judging, we want them to be interested, first off, participating at events, judging shows on their own. We want them to be excited about looking at events all around Canada, but also even in the US and the bigger shows, the Olympias, the Arnold Classic. When they email us and they tell us, listen, I've been watching these shows on YouTube, and they're familiar with the athletes. They know who the pros are, and they really have a passion for it. That gives me a feeling that, okay, they have a passion for this. They watch a lot of shows. They probably judge the shows from their seats. They feel they could be a good judge. So they feel there's a contribution on their part, and they really sincerely want to get involved, not only to just sit in the front row, but to give their time and to participate as an official judge, and perhaps work their way up the judges' guidelines, from regional shows to pro qualifiers to perhaps an IFBB Pro judge. So those are the types of individuals that we're looking for. And, they got to kind of make the sacrifice. If they really want to test judge, they have to be prepared to be a member of the Canadian Physique Alliance. They have to be prepared to come to the show on their own expense. Mind you, they don't have to buy a ticket like they usually do to sit in a chair. They actually get to sit right at the front row and test judge. But we got to see the passion and the willingness to volunteer. Don't expect that if you're going to be a test judge that all of a sudden we're flying you in and we're paying your expenses and you're getting a fee for judging. No, you have to pay your dues. So in most cases, they accept those challenges and are willing to come to the front and are willing to test judge at an event on their own expense, sit in the front row. They're willing to be critiqued by the head judge. And it's kind of like a training process, really, because test judging doesn't automatically give you a judge's certificate. We may have you test judge more than 1 or 2 shows, just so you can get a good feeling about what judging is all about, what the head judges is looking for. So, the head judge and the other judges work hand in hand with the judge or the new potential judge who is test judging. So they'll test judge the whole show. We'll take their score sheets. We'll have a look at it. And, the head judge may ask questions on why did you place so-and-so there. And you don't have to necessarily agree with the head judge, but you have to have a legitimate reason and an explanation on why you place somebody where you place that person, whether it's bikini, bodybuilding, men's physique. So if the reason is legitimate, and there's always a bit of a gray area sometimes between 1 or 2 placing, take that into consideration. But we need more than just he looked out of shape or something. We need a lot more than that, because there's more than condition that's involved in judging athletes. Especially with the different categories now. I mean, there's presentation, especially with bikini. There's the men's physique, that men's physique look. So there's a lot of different areas you have to look at as a judge. And as you judge more and more shows and you get more and more experience, it does become a natural thing for the judges to look at. They seem to know what the look is needed. And as I mentioned, the Olympia as an example, our guidelines in judging sort of comes from the Olympia, because the best of the best compete at the Olympia, and the trend on the direction that we are going usually comes from the competitors at the Olympia winning that show. Although they are the elite of the elite, it gives us some good ground on what we're looking for at the regional levels. And a judge has to be able to do a critique for athletes. When athletes ask questions on why was I placed here and what do I need to do to improve, they have to be able to respond and give them some good information to help them move on and become a better athlete. So it works hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So that's basically how it works.
No, for sure. I mean, I think obviously everybody can be a critic from their seat, but when it comes to actually judging the show and being in that front row, it's much more difficult than people think. And if you think that you can do it, definitely reach out to Canadian Physique Alliance. There's a contact page on their website to get in touch about test judging. There's a ton of shows coming up in the spring. We've just started. There's shows from coast to coast taking place almost every single weekend across the country now for the spring session here. So, reach out to the CPA if that's something that you're interested in. And as well, we've got a couple pro shows and pro qualifiers coming up. Let's transition a little bit and talk about the second level, of these events as part of the Canadian Physique Alliance. So starting out on May 7th, we've got the Vancouver Island Showdown Pro-Am. For the first time ever, the IFBB pros are coming to beautiful Victoria, BC. And I'm going to keep selfishly plugging the West Coast because I do think it's an incredible place to live. Obviously, I was born in Ontario originally, adopted the West Coast as my home. And they've really adopted me well here. And we're getting started with that event. We've got two pro categories to start the year. We've got women's physique and women's bodybuilding. And we've had athletes from across the world reach out about coming to Canada to be able to compete. And I think obviously being a first-time promoter of the Pro Show, it's incredible. And I've seen it for years at your event, the Toronto Pro Super Show, but the amount of international athletes that want to come to Canada. And I think we take for granted living here in Canada, how beautiful a place we have and the liberties and the freedoms that we have. But the athletes from around the world want to come here for vacation. They want to come here to compete, that we're truly a destination country for athletes across Asia, Europe, Africa, all over are reaching out and wanting to come here to be able to compete. So I think we have a real unique geographical advantage, over some of the other, over some of the other countries that put on pro shows. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, I absolutely agree. And I'm glad you mentioned destination. I mean, Vancouver is a destination, and people want to come there not only to compete, but to vacation there. It's just a great event. And kudos to you for putting this event on. And I'm getting a lot of inquiries about your event. And, we send out invitations. Every day I'm sending out an invitation. We got people from Iran, from Iraq, from Africa, all wanting to come here. Trust me, if we didn't have complications entering Canada, we would have hundreds and hundreds of athletes coming here to compete. But there's always certain complications, especially from other countries that do need visas. And we do send out the invitations for them to come. It sometimes becomes difficult for them to get here. But every year they try to come to Canada. But the one in Vancouver, I know there's a lot of interest in your event, even though it's only 2 categories. I have to say, I mean, you're bringing up IFBB Pro Judges, myself, Paul Lozon and Tammy Beckers, and we have 2 pro judges coming in, and also Tammy. Michelle Crack, right? And we have another pro judge coming in from the U.S. I got it right, right? Yeah. So the pro judges, think about it. Everybody that's listening to this podcast, we have a small regional show and then this big IFBB Pro Show combined. The overhead that, Corey, that this costs you to put this on, and I'm sure is overwhelming, and perhaps not for you, but it is costly. I know you're doing it out of passion, and you want these regional competitors to attend your show. They're going to get to rub shoulders with the pros, and you're going to have all IFBB pro judges judging the regional show and the pro show. So those regional competitors that are going to be competing there to qualify for a pro qualifier are going to get a great opportunity to get some critiques from top judges in Canada and the US. And you're going to have some great competitors at this event. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And then along with your show, to complement your show in Vancouver, you got the July Vancouver Pro Show, and where the other categories will complement the whole group of categories in the IFBB Pro League. So it's a big deal. So those listening to this podcast, try to make it to this show in May. And Corey, again, kudos to you. I know you weren't looking for that, but really, it's a big deal, and we're being recognized by NPC and NPC Worldwide and the IFBB Pro League, for you to put on this event and to fill that gap of those pro events that may not be happening at the Vancouver Pro Show. So that's great that you were able to step to the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a big passion of mine to continue to grow the sport at the grassroots level, and especially on Vancouver Island, and in Victoria. So I think it's a real integral part. The athletes competing in this regional show will have IFBB pro judges judging them. You really can't get any better than that at a regional 1 entry level show. And we're going to the Victoria Conference Center right downtown. Incredible, beautiful venue this year. We're really, we're rolling out the red carpet. We are going to make this an incredible event for everybody that attends, both athletes and spectators, because we want to also be able to inspire the spectators that watch in the seats and the people that purchase the pay-per-views, that they themselves can also get on stage. And that's a really big part, I think, as promoters, that we need to take into consideration, always be cognitive of, is that it's not only the athletes that we have, it's the future potential athletes to be able to grow the sport forward, so that we have the rising tide effect, where the more people that join the organization, the more people that are participating in shows, the more events and opportunities we can have to be able to service these people so that they can reach their goals, their aspirations in whatever capacity it is, whether it is to do one show or it is to go all the way to the Mr. Olympia contest. We need to be able to provide those athletes the opportunities, to fulfill their goals and fulfill their dreams. So that's kind of my stance as the promoter, obviously, of that event.
I think that's a great mission statement, and for yourself and other promoters, I'm sure feel the same way with their events, and same with the Toronto Pro Show. If we can get to that event, It's going to be a great event, and there's some stuff going on at the Toronto Pro Show and Toronto Pro Qualifier this year that's going to be really exciting. We haven't done it at the Metro Toronto Convention Center yet. Again, we're going to be running in Toronto at the Delta Hotel on Dixon Road. But it's a beautiful venue in terms of simplicity. You can book your room. The venue is inside the hotel, so it's really a made easy competition for all the competitors that are going to be competing. This year, the Toronto Pro Show, which is going to be June 4th and 5th, we're going to be able to have the pro qualifier on the Saturday, so that those that do compete at that pro qualifier and receive a pro card will have a chance to compete in the pro show the very next day. And I mean, it's one of the largest shows in North America. It really is, because we have every category, from wheelchair to wellness to fitness. We wanted to ensure that every category was going to be there, and we're going to do that again this year. So we're really looking forward to seeing a lot of pros there this year, and all of these competitors who are trying to get to this pro qualifier by hitting regional shows like yours, and other promoters are going to be able to compete at this event. And like last year, and I think we mentioned it, possibly get the pro card and then actually win the pro show the very next day to qualify for the 2022 Olympia. One more thing I want to add about that special weekend. Well, actually, a couple of things. First off, on the Friday night, we're going to do something special. We're actually having James Hergott. He's promoting what we call a transformation celebration, and he's hoping to record this and eventually get it on Netflix. But what it is, it's going to be a celebration of competitors who are going to be coming on stage to show the transformation that they've done. They're really not competing. It's more of a celebration. They're going to tell their story. They're going to show either the physical changes that they've done, or just the mental change that working out and actually participating in an event like this has done for them. To complement that, the month of May is Mental Health Month, so we're looking for those who have some transformation stories, either some physical transformation stories or even some mental transformation stories, or people that were able to that had some drug abuse or had some personal life to succumb certain problems they might have to work out. And we're able to do this through working out and getting involved, either with the Canadian Physique Alliance or just the fact that they got back into the gym and that turned their lives around. These type of stories may inspire somebody to either get back in the gym and start working out, and who knows, maybe hit the stage at some point. There's a lot of stories out there. And on the Friday night at 7 p.m., after the check-ins or after the meeting with the pro qualifier athletes, we're going to have this event that James Hergott is putting together. It's on the website, so we really want to encourage those that have stories or that want to participate. Perhaps they're not, obviously they're perhaps not the level of a pro qualifier athlete, but their stories are worthwhile hearing and worthwhile listening to. And as I said, it would be an inspiration. So the combination of the transformation on the Friday, the pro qualifier on the Saturday, and then the pro show on the Sunday, it's going to make it a real great weekend. Along with, we already have about 20 exhibitors there, and we got some great title sponsors that are coming on board. Big announcement next week on the title sponsor and the partnership that's been developed with the Canadian Physique Alliance. Perhaps we can do another podcast on that, but we're waiting to make a big announcement on that. So, along with your show, the pro show that you're putting on, and of course, this, our 11th year actually with the Toronto Pro Qualifier and the Toronto Pro Show, we're really thinking that Canada is really going to be stepping to the plate again. So, we're asking all you competitors, if you haven't competed this year yet, or if you've qualified from last year, send in your sheets in order to compete at the Toronto Pro Qualifier, your registration. You can do that online, and let's make it a real successful event.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I like about this podcast is that the promoters are most modest about their events.
Yeah.
Because the Toronto Pro Super Show is the longest and the marquee event in the calendar here in Canada. And as Ron alluded to, one of the only, events that have every single category. And I think people, in Canada actually, may have taken that for granted because there's not a lot of events, outside of the Olympia really that I can think of that has every single category, even the Arnold Classic. And I'm nothing against Arnold and those guys, but they don't have every category at their event. So to be able to do that is a great representation, obviously, and kudos to yourself for doing so and having that commitment, because it's a big commitment, both financially, to be able to do that, but also time wise, you're putting on a 3-day event. The logistics of running that is absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, you need to have a lot of good people in place, volunteers and staff, and there's a ton of people that are involved in the organization that are able to make that event happen and make that event successful. And, don't worry about the Toronto Metro Convention Center. The Delta Hotel that you have is one of the most incredible event facilities that you can have. You literally come from the airport, you are there within 5 to 7 minutes at the event, and you never have to leave. It's an incredible facility. Athletes honestly can have a stress-free competition weekend by booking their, with the host hotel. You have restaurants, you have cafes, you have everything that you need within that venue. There's a nice little gym that you could even work out in and pump up ahead of time. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I know you've got a busy schedule. You're heading out of the country, but I'm Corey Swergos, your host of the Canadian Physique Alliance podcast. And then it's Ron Hache who's going to have the last word here for the members of this podcast. Going forward, Ron, what would you like to say to people for the next month or so as they prep for spring shows?
Listen, everyone. First off, thank you for participating in all the events that have been held already, although there's only been 2 events so far. Get ready. Get into these regional shows, your capabilities, see where you're at. Now's the time to do it. Now's the time to test, which categories you want to compete in, which division you think you're going to be strong in. And don't be, scared to enter more than one class. If you think you're a men's physique and maybe you're also a men's classic, now's the time to test it at these regional events. And then the judges will let you know where your strengths are and which direction you should go. So let's get you at these regional events. Keep training hard. It's all good all the way to the Toronto Pro Qualifier, also to Corey's event. We're looking forward to seeing you on stage at all of the regional shows that are going to be happening this spring. Thank you for your support.